Hello everyone, welcome to the channel review 2024. We have gained about 10,000 subs this year, but also had a lot of videos that included some of my absolute favorites. In fact, I think I have more videos to talk about this time than I have in the past, so I hope you all are looking forward to it. I'm going to start by going over these videos, however, afterward I want to do a bit of a second segment talking about some of the events I ran this year, the future in terms of what I'm going to do when content's over, and talking about a little bit of other side stuff, so... this is going to be a bit of a long review, but I hope you're all looking forward to it. So with that being said, first off was 1 year later, are shooters still OP? And this was some Twitter discussion on shooters being too good or overtuned or whatever, and I kind of just wanted to cover it one more time and go over it in a way that kind of shows like why they aren't as good now and what makes them balanced and all that. So I had fun with it, and this was also the start of these little intros that we've been doing, which has been fun. Next up was the 10 worst changes to the Splatoon series. This was another really fun video I got to do. I don't know why the timestamps are like this, by the way. Like, I didn't put these in, and like they just aren't spelled right. I don't know how this happens. Whatever, I guess they're mostly accurate. But this was a fun video to do. I think that my picks ended up being a little more comp-oriented than they should have been. There probably could have been other stuff I'd mentioned. But I think it still worked, clearly. The reception for this was really good. The video did very well, and I had a lot of fun making it. This was a video idea I've been sitting on for quite a while, and I figured it was a good time to do it. And because I did the worst ones, I also had one for the best ones. Didn't do as well, unfortunately. However, I still really personally enjoyed doing this one. I kind of recorded these very close to each other. This was another, video I had a lot of fun with. This video, the only 10 specials in the game. Okay. I really like this video. This is one of the favorite ones I did this year. I think this was a really cool idea, very fun topic, and technically, this is like my first Splatoon 4 video, kind of, since this concept could be applied to trimming down a Splatoon 4, though at the time it was not branded as such. There's only one thing I would change, and that's this. At the time, I just kind of, I went with Kraken here. I don't know if I would go with either now, but Stamp is probably the more fair one these days. I think that Kraken, my idea with it now is that it should be a salmon run special so it can function the way it does now. And while what I said about Kraken here holds true, I think that the design problems are still way too harsh. If we're gonna cut down in the next game and go with the quality thing, which I doubt they're gonna do anyway, but if that's the thing they're gonna do, because that's what I'm proposing in this video, then keeping Kraken is really stupid. So, I went with the poll, and the poll did vote Kraken, but I definitely should have gone with Stamp. This was a poor way to avoid a tie. And then I stand by Bubble Blower, of course. The rework I did for it, I still think it'd be great. I think we might see it, considering it wasn't brought back for this game, but we'll see. I'm still happy with this ending list. I guess just replace Kraken with Stamp, and then I still stand by the Wave Breaker if Cooler's a mechanic thing. Maybe I'll figure that out one day, but this was a lot of fun to do. This was one of those, while I'm scripting them and going through and picking how I want to choose specials and format the video, it was a lot of fun to go through. So this video, this is how Splatoon 3 got so difficult so fast. This was the first of 2 videos I did kind of just on, the scene as a whole rather than something in-game. I might want to do more of these, but I'm not as sure what I want to talk about. These were, very broad topics I enjoyed doing to be able to, really cover the scene and its progression. And in this case, I wanted to talk about, why Splatoon 3 is a very difficult competitive game, because I still do believe compared to S2 or 1, this is way harder to be good at. Way, way, way harder. I don't even think it's really that close. Maybe S1 is a little bit close, but, S1 is such a limited pool of things you needed to be aware of by the end of the game. This is not the same at all. So, I had fun covering this. The first guide I've done, I did 2 guides this year, which is Brella and Stamper. I do have the Range S-Blast one still in the works, but I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been working on it too much behind the scenes. And then Explo, Dread are kind of on the table as maybe I'll make some for these. But these are, larger scale videos. They cost a bit more to do, obviously, and they're a bit more in production. This took a while, of course, and so did the Stamper one, but I'm so happy with how these came out. I've really wanted to do these kind of big weapon guides for some of my favorite weapons in this game. It's something that I've wanted to do for years, and I'm finally at the point in my editing career and my content career that I can afford to get videos like this and know what I'm doing with them and help out with the production. And it's it's been so fun to be able to actually do these. So this was really fun. I'm glad this helped people. This one even did pretty well. Both the guides actually like did pretty well, which I did not expect. So I'm really happy for these. I'm still gonna try to do more of them, but like Brella had to be the one I started with. I wrote like a mini guide for Brella back in S2 a while back on like a Google Doc. It was not great, but it was like my very first time trying to write anything up, and this is like the very long time successor where it is so many years later and I can actually do a guide justice now, and I'm very happy I got to do that. And this is the other video I did on the scene, the truth about competitive Splatoon, like what it is and why it's fun. And this was inspired from so many people like in comments who would just go, oh my god, why are you like, you're playing comp, you're not having fun, just let us have fun. And I'm like, bro, comp is fun. I would not be playing the game if there wasn't a comp scene. Like, this is what is fun for me. So it was cool to talk about that, and I got to go over, like, some of the scene experiences. And I felt like I got to have a good take about it, because there are downsides of comp, obviously, and I'm glad I got to really talk about in a full picture. It's one of those broader topics that I felt like didn't have the discussion around it needed, and I was happy to do it. Ooh, S-Blast. So, I think looking back at my Comp S3 career, like playing S-Blast when it came out was like the biggest gamble I've ever done. And like at the time, I totally didn't see it that way. I was like, I was gonna play Machine. Machine just got super nerfed. This weapon looks really strong. Like I fully believed in it, and it almost worked. We almost qualled, but like obviously it didn't happen. And I played it for a few months later, and eventually kind of moved on from it. And I wanted to do a retrospective, like why I was wrong about it, why a lot of people were wrong about it, because this was like the most hyped up weapon for a while. And to be fair, I think like a blaster with this small a blast radius was never really a thing before, same for the split firing modes. And I just super overrated how good of a strength that was going to be. And, you know, retrospective, grown as a player, I understand a lot better what I got wrong. And so being able to kind of look back and talk about it, I think was pretty cool. So I still really like this weapon. It's still one of my favorites, and it's definitely a lot better now. A lot of these problems have gotten like decently adjusted with like radius size buffs and speed buffs and a better kit and all that. So like S-Blast is now it's like an actual comp weapon. It's like a one-trick thing, but there have been people who have been one-tricking this weapon and haven't dropped it like me, who have gone insane at it, especially in Japan. So I think we're going to see more S-Blast, especially next year. So it's cool to see. But yeah, at the time, definitely a bit of a gamble. I don't know what I should have done still, because like the machine nerf was definitely a lot, and that wasn't a weapon I was super good at, but maybe like just range at the time would have been better. But it's hard to say. There's not really a whole lot of use of going, yeah, 1.5 years ago you should have done this. Like it doesn't matter too much, I guess. But yeah, I had fun making this video and being able to go over it. I think it was really well made. This is side order. So, I originally planned to do a lot more with side order. It just kind of didn't happen. I don't really have a reason for why. I didn't, like, forget. I just kind of, I don't know. I had other stuff I wanted to talk about. I just ended up not doing it. So I just had my playthrough and then the, like, subs and specials tier list, I think. And it was fun. I look back on side order very fondly. I know some people are still upset at it or think that it could have done more, and that's totally fair. But for me personally, I'm fine with it. I had fun playing it, and that's all that really matters. The content on it did pretty well. People seem to enjoy it. And I got to do a review later, which I think is right here, yeah. And I want to review Octo Expansion. I still kind of do. But I've never really been able to get around to it in a good way. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit more in this review and in the Splatoon 3 Hero Mode review, which is kind of what I've done. So I felt like I got to talk about it enough to be happy with it. I'm really happy with the production quality on this. Logie did an amazing job, and being able to like do a good single player review was great. I did that for Hero Mode, and I got to do it for Side Order, and there's definitely some stuff I'd adjust. However, I think for like the first times really going in depth about a single player campaign, I did a good job reviewing these, in my opinion, and it was a lot of fun. My honest review of competitive Splatoon 3. I want to make another one of these. I will be doing another. There will be a competitive Splatoon 3 review 2025. Not a whole lot has changed, really. A lot of these points are going to be very similar in discussion, but I think I can do them a little bit better. there is stuff like this that has changed, obviously, a lot. And there's just like, it's a very different era with like weapon diversity and stuff. So I do want to do a kind of follow up to this and talk about it. And like some stuff will be very similar. I think like half the video will be recap slash going over it better, and half of it will be new stuff. But I do really want to do this again for sure. I want to put a bit of a note on where we're at for Comp S3, especially since like we're going to be talking a lot about the meta history soon, because that is going to finally happen in a bit. That's a big series for me. I'll talk about more at the end. This was a longer video too. This ended up being like 14 minutes, which was not planned, but I really like the flow of this video. I think it was done really well. I like the different graphs and charts that are in it, and yeah, this was just fun. Top 15 third kit hopes for Splatoon 3. This was a fun video to make. This is one of my favorites, and I got to do my Dream Dreadrigger kit. Not the best thing in comp. I think there's a better special for this, but it is my favorite. That's what I would want to do. This got to have a lot of modded footage. I got to work with Tap Out for the weapon models, which look amazing, and this was just fun to do. I'm not going to talk too much about third kits in this, because I feel like the discussion around it is so, like, doom and gloom now. It's very depressing, so it's just not as fun to talk about anymore. But in terms of, like, kit hopes, I think these were pretty good picks. Like, a good mix between weapons I play and weapons I don't play. Splatoon 4 needs to ditch weapon kits. Here's why. Yeah. This video. This is another one of my favorite videos for the year, like, the entire year. I have been, like, I've been critiquing the weapon kit system for years, but I never, like, fully did a video talking about absolutely everything. And this was the first time I really did it and, like, got to go over everything. And I stand by every single thing I said in this video. I believe in this new system. The problems I talked about there, all of it. It is absolutely something that needs to change. And I think, like, now that we're in an era with no third kits and seeing, like, the part of the discussion we're at, I think it's going to become more clear to the average person that, like, yeah, maybe this system needs to go. I hope there's something better in S4. And if it's not, I hope we have, like, double the kits we do in this game. But we'll see. I really hope there's a Splatoon game where people can, like, actually put some theory crafting into use with kits without breaking the game. But that's going to be something for another time. So now we're at the final week of Splatoon 1, and another thing I've had planned for a while. This was like a little bit of more recon slash showing off the game rather than another gameplay video. I think I did a little solo at the end. But I just wanted to talk about a few things in this, and I got it out of the way. It was the smaller project of the two. This was the other one, the best and worst of every weapon class for Splatoon 1, which in Splatoon 1 is just like a normal video. Like in S3, this is like a 25-minute ramble. In this game, this is a normal video, because there's like no classes and there's barely any weapons, so it's like so much easier to do this video. But I still really wanted to do it. It was fun to like really talk about it. I remember I did like a poll or something where I was like, what special do you think is going to be on the most worst weapons? And it was really hard for people to guess because it was Zuka, and like a lot of the logic behind Zuka was 220. It was 220. Every Zuka weapon 220. So it just screwed over a ton of weapons. So that was like a fun little bit of trivia. This was absolutely like one of my favorites to do as well, though. I really enjoyed being able to look back at it. Tough to get footage for sure. All the S1 videos are. I do have another S1 video coming out at the beginning of next year. Won't be a gameplay because I haven't set up a way to play it on Pretendo yet. But I do have another video for Splatoon 1 to talk about a little bit. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. And then finally, as Splatoon 1 is broken, me and Stone released these at around the same time. We both had the same idea for this for a while, which is not too surprising. Like, this idea itself is inspired by another video. Like, it's inspired by Hue and Melee is Broken and all that. It's, like, far from an original idea. And I, like, haven't spoken on it too much, but I'm totally fine that we both did it. And, like, their videos are distinct in their own way, and both are good. So, like, I'm totally cool with it. This was fun to cover. Very similar to what I did with S2. I think I like Splatoon 2's better, though. Which is kind of funny to say, because you figure this game would have a lot more to tear apart for being broken. But for whatever reason, I just like the flow of Splatoon 2 is broken a little bit more. We will have to eventually do Splatoon 3 is broken, though, so we'll see if I can make that even better. Still figuring out if I want to do that like next year or wait until we're closer to S4, but we'll figure that out later. Gimmick comp kind of works. This was just a random scrim. I don't remember what inspired this. It was some kind of discussion about like comp synergies, and I was like, oh, this is like an AoE comp synergy. What if we just played it? Like, I didn't even play Dread at the time, really. I just was like, I'll do Dread for this one, and we'll play this and try it. And it was fun. It was like a very different playstyle. It was unique. Like, this is before even CX was in the game. Definitely not a great comp, but like good enough to function, and like I just remember enjoying this scrim so much more than like anything I had done recently, just because it was different. Like, it just felt different than the usual style of play that had been going on, and that made it really special. I need to talk about like the rework series as a whole. I'll get to that when I go to one of the weapons. I put one of them on here. Because this series is a bit rough, and I want to talk about that. But this one, this little bit I've done with the reworking specials was absolutely one of my favorites to do. I really like this Trizuka rework and how complex it was. Being able to dedicate an entire video to like a special balance was really useful. And then I think it's like right here. Where's the chumps? I know I have chumps. There it is. And I did it with chumps as well. And this one I liked even more. Doing like 3 very different ideas for evolving a special was like so fun to make. These were just cool. I couldn't do them with very many specials, but this was like really, really fun to make. I like the idea for going over these, and game balance and like game balance changes are something I try not to talk about too much because I feel like I do it a lot, but I have had a lot of fun being able to go through and like really cover what I want to change with these. Which design would I keep, by the way, after all this? Absolutely super jump chumps. These are by far most fun if we go to S4. I think they really need something to feel way more powerful. That would definitely do it. Okay, fresh season review. So I have this here for a very specific reason. I want to talk a little bit about how I have approached more like critique heavy content this year. Because I've always like held the mindset that I try to do it fairly and I try to do it reasonably. And like I don't want to stray away from critiquing things where it's due, because I feel like that's like not a fair way to look at things. I feel like if you're only talk about the positives of a game and you don't critique it at all, then like the praise kind of comes across hollow, because like that's all you ever get. It's like I think in order for the positive things to shine, it's important to talk about the negative stuff. But I did really want to change how I talked about it, especially by like the middle of this year, and there was a big push from me to try and like be a bit more careful with my wording and my edits and try to make things a little bit better. And you might be thinking, isn't there one exception to this later down the line with your special design video? And yes, and that's because that special design script was very old, or at least most of it, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. But anyway, this video is here because this is the main example of that. This season was really disappointing. And I got to the review like a month and a half later, so it was like far away from any of the main feelings about it. But I really wanted to like talk about it in a better way, and I think I did a better job with it, and same for like most of what I tried to do. So I am glad I got to revisit this in a more positive light, or not in a more positive light, in a more like fair light. I feel like I'm finding a better balance between critiquing things without being too negative about them, and I hope I can continue to find a better balance with that, because that's definitely something I've needed to work on over the years. So up next was 20 random cool things in Splatoon 3. So this was just a little side project I did. It's a lot on the same light of like I wanted to help with a bit more positivity with the game at a time where things were not as great, and this was like a very like just kind of random list of things, and they were all stuff I like had in mind to talk about, but none of them were things that could be their own video anyway. So I was like, great, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I can talk about the game and like all these small things that I haven't been able to talk about, and I can like hopefully bring a bit more positivity to the series at a time where it's needed at the same time, which was cool. I enjoyed doing this list, and I did a second one later for the rest of the stuff that I haven't been able to cover. The best part of Splatoon 3's meta, this is going over just kind of match pacing with midlines and fighting weapons, and why those are cool, which is great. Midline weapons were not like a Splatoon 3 exclusive thing. S2 even had a little bit of a midline meta in like 5.2 with like Brella, Bamboo, Atri, Dually Squelcher. But it's way, way better in this game. Mostly because there's way more of them than those. And the midlines aren't also MPU weapons, which is what made like pretty much everyone hate them. So Yeah, this was fun to cover. Why I really like Lethal Company. So, this was my attempt at variety content this year, and compared to the previous years, this was actually full on a discussion. This was a 20-minute discussion on this game that I played and I was so nervous for this because like when I talk about Splatoon 3, it comes from, oh my god, I've played this game for forever, I've played the series forever, I have like a certain level of accomplishments in the game, and I've done it for a while, so I know a lot of the basics of what I'm talking about. It's a lot easier to give my opinions on things. Then I go to this game, and I'm like, well, I'm shit at this game. I'm not good at it. It's so scary to talk about it because I don't feel like I know it as well. I'm not big into horror games or anything like this. And so the scripting process took forever because I was like I didn't really know how to approach this for the longest time. And I think it ended up with a cool job. I also had like a bit of a joke in here that I feel like I was hoping more people would notice in the comments, which is basically like the one time I brought up Splatoon was to do like a weapon analogy for how the game was supposed to make you feel, and I intentionally used Zeeker's gameplay when I brought up Undercover, and that was supposed to be like a bit of the joke there, was that I was saying like the game makes you feel like you're using a terrible weapon, and then I have footage of him using this like stereotypical terrible weapon in the game. So it was supposed to be like a little joke there, but I don't think like anyone got it. So here I am talking about it, and when you talk about it, it's just not funny. So I guess that's how it works. But I knew this video would probably not do very well. It definitely cost way more than it made back, which is to be expected. But I had fun with it. I had fun making it. It was good to do something different, and I think like trying to do one kind of variety project a year, even if it doesn't good well, is just good for me to branch out a little bit. I'd love to do more variety content for other stuff, but like it's so clear that the majority of the audience isn't going to support it. But I am glad to do a little bit. I kind of want to talk about Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and Super Mario Eclipse at some point. I kind of did little shoutouts for those in my longer ramble videos. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'll make those a full review at some point or not, but I might. That might be what I do for 2025. We'll see. But yeah, it was still fun to do. I'm really happy with how this came out. Logie clutched up a lot with the editing on this, which is great, because like I couldn't really contribute much in the way of footage for this. And I also uploaded a little bit of shorts to the second channel, which people liked. In fact, my most popular second channel short was a Lethal Company short. I mean, they weren't shorts. They were just small videos, not in the shorts format. But the one where I ran away from the Goku Bracken mod was legitimately the most viewed video. So hey, the small form funny clips do well, at least. That's been one part of variety content success. Either way, I haven't really played Lethal Company as much in the tail end of this year. I played it actively until like version 64, 65, so quite a while. Kind of waiting for like another bigger update to get into it now, but I had a lot of fun with this game. I tried to do a bit more variety with other games this year when I had time, and yeah, I had a good time with it. So I'm happy I got to do this video with it regardless, because it's an amazing game, and I'm glad, even if my review is one of many, I'm glad I got to put myself out there for this one. The season review wrap up. I probably want to do a compilation of these for the second channel at some point. I have to go through them all still. But I'm glad I got to end on a high note. I'm so happy that my last season review got to be on a legitimately really good one, though. I got to absolutely just sing the season's praises this time, and I have been wanting to do that, and this season was just great. I'm glad to be able to end it on a high note. I enjoyed doing these season reviews. We had a little bit of a rhythm with them where I did like ranking every weapon and the season review and stuff like that when it came out, and I had a lot of fun with it. Like, obviously, it was a very repetitive format every single time, but it was really fun. It was a great way to cover new content, so the season format did definitely help with stuff like that. I think the idea of the rebalancing series, which is rebalancing every single weapon in the game, here's the problem with it. This series took like a year and a half. We're not even done. The shooter video isn't out yet. It might be out by the time this is uploaded, but not by the time I'm scripting it. Like the last shooter video for it. It took forever to do it. Legitimately forever. And because of that, the balance of the game keeps changing over and over, and there's no way for, like, the changes I make become outdated. It'll never end up being like a perfect picture. There are some things I'm really happy with. Like, I like this Recycle 2 Shields idea. I like the Charger reworks I did. I like the Blob one, even though we accidentally had the velocity number too high because I did math wrong. It was supposed to be 1.5 times, not 2.5 times velocity. And the velocity was not supposed to affect the range. And I don't know if I talked about that before, but like, people saw that modded footage and they're like, no, what the hell, this is crazy. And I'm like, no, this was not the idea, the number was too high. But like, I had to get the video by then, it was already late, so. Yeah, don't get content out too fast, you end up with stuff like that. Regardless, if I could go back, I would just do the weapons I wanted to talk about, because when you do something like, hey, here's Recycle, give it 2 shields, and it's like this cool concept, the exact balance of the game doesn't matter as much, because it's about the concept. But when it's all these weapons that like just need a kit adjustment or a minor bit of like extra damage or frame data, it's just not as interesting. I did still see the series through to the end though. I got all of the weapons out, you know, after the shooter one is done. So I'm glad I still got to do it. But it's definitely like the most flawed series I've made. I'm still like happy to be able to get through it all. And the editors who worked on them did a great job with what we worked with. But I definitely wish I could have done it better in the future. So, yeah, Dowser and Jet Sculpture. Not too much to say here. I've talked about, like, on stream plenty of times that, like, S1 Jet was cool, S2 Jet is lame. And I never really got to make it a full thing. This video was a bit of a struggle to make, like, a full-on discussion. Because it ended up too short a lot, so I had to elaborate a little bit more than I would have liked. But it ended up going pretty well. I think, like, what really ended up helping with it is I ended up doing the concept for, like, S3 Jet Sculpture that would match the style. And I really like the kit I came up with it, because the Kraken one was not perfect. And I think Zipcaster is like a perfect trade-off for it, where you get like good synergy and utility and stuff, but it's still like forcing you to be this really aggressive playstyle. So I was really happy with the idea at the end of it. I think that was good. And Dowser Dooley tied the discussion together by like, you know, trying to work around that design as well. So this was fun to do for sure, an idea I was sitting on for a while, and I got to really do well here. Range Blaster gameplay. This isn't really about this video, more just, I know I haven't shown range gameplay as much recently, because I haven't been playing it as much. I've been really focused on Dreadringer since I've been like actually grinding competitive, compared to like before where I was playing with pickups and stuff for the fun of it. However, I just gotta say, I really had a fun time with range and custom range. Legitimately, blasters in this game are so fun to play in comp, and like, I'm not using them as much because it's just not what I end up best with, and it doesn't work with the comps I like playing with as a player. So, like, in terms of what I need to play to win and what I like has split off this year, but regardless, it's still so damn fun to play blasters and to play, especially CRB. I'm still very happy, like, I got lucky with that. I burst Booyah on S-Blast, Slap on Kraken CRB, I like the Wavebreaker kit too. I have Rapid with Torp Jetpack. If I played Luna, I have Splat Bomb Zipcaster. Like, that's fun too. Really, blasters in this game just got to have really fun kits. So, I'm down. It's cool. And I just wanted to put that out there. I had so much fun with them this year. Revisiting the Octo Expansion series. Yeah, so this was fun. I'm glad I got to redo it because I never did an Octo Expansion gameplay, and I wish I did. Though it's obviously way better doing it now. But I don't have too much to say. It was fun to replay. It cemented my 9.5 out of ranking is still accurate. But besides that, I really didn't feel like completing the playthrough all the way through, doing all the levels and doing it in Agent 3 again. The videos themselves just weren't doing that great, and I wasn't really feeling it, and Splatoon 2's camera is just so hard to deal with, man. Every time I revisit it, you're going to see it again when I do Splatoon 2 in 2025. Like, I cannot aim in this game anymore. I have no idea how I did 5 years of comp. Like, I legit cannot aim anymore in that game. It feels so weird to get used to the camera. I'm like, not as big a deal in the single player sense, but like, if we can somehow get access to this campaign with Splatoon 3's camera and motion controls, oh my god, it would be so much better. But yeah, I still had fun. This was great to revisit. The 8.1 tier list. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'm gonna top this. I don't think I can have a ramble longer than this. Even if I tried to do one. And we're in like a more diverse meta now. But like, oh my god, guys, I don't know if I can do all of this. I had so much fun with this. This took a while to make. Even without like much specific edits. just because, like, script trimming and adding music for all of this, I'm glad I had this little section of revisions, because, like, after 3 weeks or so after the original recording, I definitely had stuff I wanted to change. And the overall tier list for the meta ended up being pretty good. It's not perfect, but this is pretty damn accurate. It helps that the meta's been established for a while, which is kind of what I'm waiting for if I do this again. Like, I want it to be stable enough to where I'm not going to mess it up, but, like, especially for the time, for, like, midline meta, this was a pretty good list, I think. And yeah, it says 8.1. This was made in 8.0, but, like, all I changed for 8.1 is, like, yeah, I think I said in the description, Carbon goes, like, here. Carbon would go in S tier in 8.1. That's where it should have gone, I think. But yeah, regardless, it ended up working for 8.1, which is great. Gets to be relevant for a bit longer. A lot of people really liked this. So yeah, I'm glad. This was a really fun way to do content, and it basically got me to go, like, you know, not as long as this, but I want to do other rambles like this, where I talk for like 30 minutes to an hour or so, and it's not super edited, and that'll allow me to tackle longer topics that, like, reasonably I wouldn't be able to make into an edited video because they'd be too expensive. So the fact that you guys like that enough for me to do more of them is awesome. So that's definitely something I want to do next year. Get Dread in the A tier in this list, by the way, ProChara. This next one is which Splatoon game had better new weapons, literally just based off a tweet I saw, and I was like, yo, wait, this got to be a good video. What was the result again? I think I gave Splatoon 2 the winner, right? Let's see. New classes was 3? No, I gave it a 2. I gave it a 2. Variety was a 3. Original ideas was 2. I can already tell. Weapon design is 3. And balance and power. Was this one 2? It had, I guess it's, nowadays, is it 2? I'm less sure. This competition's definitely closer nowadays. This might now be Splatoon 3, because, like, Dread is better now, and Mint is better now. And Wiper got buffed. I'm sure it'll only get more in 3's favor as time goes on, unless they, like, demolish the swords. Either way, this was fun, and this also has my favorite individual shot. Weird thing to go over. I love this little fist bump shot at the end of the video. This was such a cool way to end it. I love this shot. This is my favorite shot of the year, for sure. I haven't had a favorite shot in previous years, but this one I was like, this is a perfect ending. This was awesome. 10 big changes for Splatoon 4. My first actual Splatoon 4 video. I mean, the 10 specials is like a fair thing to that. Those are the specials I want back. This is like actually Splatoon 4, like what I want. And my theme around this is that it had to be like changes, not brand new things. And I think, let's see, I wish I'd talked more about why I wanted 3 years of content. I went a little bit into like the evolution of it and stuff. But I feel like on a surface level, this might be, yeah, give me another year because I want it, which is bad. I think pretty much everything else still holds up. Yeah. I think Splatfest being combined with challenges would be a good idea still. I saw that in an Astro video. I think I said that opinion a few months ago. I still hold that. Yeah, everything else here is about what I wanted. So, yeah, not much to say that I haven't said here. This video did pretty well, and I'm glad. I don't really have too many ideas for S4, because I usually like to go off of, like, some form of information and kind of expand that information, and we don't really have much. And then a lot of that new stuff I could do, like, new weapon ideas, for example, are things I did going into 3. And I might do those again. I could definitely do them better, but I'm not sure what to do. Also, is that the Splatoon logo on this guy's shirt? I don't know if I've ever noticed that. Anyway, I like both the Stamper and the Brella guide. I can't really pick a favorite. This one has my favorite intro, by the way. I gotta, like, play with it. I can't play with the music synced up, but this little, like, starting bit here was really good. Just perfect song choice from Cookie. And this one ended up being a little bit longer than the Brella guide. This was, like, basically an 18-minute guide, which is kind of crazy. I felt like I had more to say here than with Brella, but it's mostly just because Stamper has a lot to talk about. So, I enjoyed this a lot. I can't really pick a favorite here. I'd say that, like, these are the perfect 2 first guides, though. These are exactly the weapons I wanted to cover. Like, Splatoon 2 was Brella for me. That one was absolutely what I liked from that game. But in terms of the unique weapon that I think more people should use in this game, that's Stamper. So I had to do a guide for it here, and I have a lot of history with it, so I'm glad I could make this. I had a lot of fun with the guides. There will probably be more next year, but this was great. I'm really glad I got to get started on these and help out make them really good. Special shout out to the editors for both of them, Lewis with the Brella one and Cookie for the Splatoon one. These require a lot more work than a normal discussion, so it's tough. All right, S3 the worst roller, my video on Big Swig. So this one was basically thanks for the reload, a fun project that I wanted to do based off some videos I saw from Fire the Pyro. And definitely very far from replicating that style. It's kind of hard to do it without the insane kind of green screen tools and stuff that I've seen there. Though I do wish, one detail from those videos I wish we recreated though, which would have probably taken more work as is, but like we should have done it, is putting the sound effects in. So having stuff like the carbon swing and the swimming around playing on clips with commentary on it. That's like a detail I remember from those videos that definitely wasn't done here. However, there was a bigger mistake with this video. I completely forgot Big Swig has better object damage. Like, completely forgot about it. I don't know how well it would have fit into the video, though it definitely would have, like, shown Big Swig as this more... I think the main thing there is really showing that, yeah, the devs were pushing for this more as this competitively difficult weapon, but I don't know how exactly I'd implement it. Either way, new video style was never going to come out super well. I don't know if I'm going to really replicate it because it doesn't really match what my usual style of videos are. Not sure I want to do too many more of them, but I'm glad I gave it a shot, and I'm glad people liked it. Every Splatoon weapon brand, best to worst. So this is another one I got some criticism for because I had this chart I basically made to categorize all the brands, and it turns out that the brand names are kind of different from like the actual brands, and it's like an entirely different list, and it was actually there in Inkpedia, and I just somehow didn't find it the entire time, which probably on me. Like, I can't believe I messed that up. But at the same time, I'm not like too upset with it. It doesn't ruin the whole video. I definitely wish I did it the right way, but I'm not going to go like redo the entire video for that. This was like a one-off concept. If we get around to S4 and weapon brands and kits and everything are the same, I'll do it correct next time, I promise. But besides that, I don't have too much to say for this. This was like a concept I wanted to do. It felt like it had to be very fast-paced to fit everything in correctly. So that did kind of mess with the video a bit, but not too bad at all, so this was fine. A trip down Splatfest memory lane. I just had a bunch of Splatfest clips that I didn't use for a while, mostly because it became very clear that Splatfest videos weren't very popular, which was fine. It meant I didn't have to try and get content for every single one of them. But I still had all of these, and I thought it was a cool idea to put them all together as one, which is what happened. And yeah, this was cool. I think that was a neat way to prep for Grandfest. How to nerf Splatoon 3's best weapons. See, this was fun. This is what I wish we got more out of, like, balance patches, is when I know the direction of what we're doing for one, I can come up with my own concept for it. So, like, this one talked about how I wanted to nerf main weapons down a bit, like the main top tiers, less about specials, I think. And so I got to go ahead and like give my takes on it. And for the most part, I think things aged here pretty well. I mean, 52 didn't happen, but I can't say I didn't expect it. Like I did the wall change, which didn't happen. I think it was Squeezer after that. I don't remember what I did for Squeezer. I had the chart. What did I do for Squeezer? I did a fire rate change instead. I don't know if that would have been more or less harsh than what we got. But like range is the blast radius nerf, that aged well. I did like a small Stamper paint nerf thing, I think, and they ended up not doing anything, which is fine. Stuff like that. And then I did the special nerfs. So it was cool to just actually be able to not really do a mini predictions because I didn't expect all of this, but like I have the same theme the devs are going with. I can give my own spin on this now. I really enjoyed doing that. My honest review of all 19 specials in Splatoon 3. So first off, during Kraken's sound, having the Irate 8 chase fight, it fits so perfectly. Best song synergy for any section there. I loved how well that fit. I loved that I could do all Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze music and it fit perfectly. Final ranking, what did I put? 7.5 out of 10 with this list. So obviously part of this is playing Dread, but I would put Slider up a tier. I would put it in a mixed bag. Not enough to be mostly good, but I'd put it a little higher. I think I was honestly a little harsh to Missile Whale. I think I would put them up too. I think I'd just get rid of the bad tier and move all of these up. Which would have a very crowded mixed bag tier, but like, I think that's accurate, and I'd bump this up to an 8 out of 10. So my opinion has gone up for the first time on one of these. I've always looked back at these and said, no, I would be harsher on it. This is the first time I'm like, no, I think I was too harsh on this. And remember the negativity thing I talked about? I had a very harsh script segment on Missile and Whale, and looking back, I wish I just redid it. A lot of this script is very old. This was scripted in January and released toward the end of the year. It has some new script stuff to adjust for all the different weapons and stuff, and the tier list, like everything being dragged on, had to be completely re-recorded for the background. But for the most part, I do still like this video. I like that I got to talk about more of them, and I wanted to still do this edited down. So this was not going to be an unscripted ramble. I wanted to be able to actually edit this down and have specific footage. It's not like everywhere, it's not like a ton, but it's for 35 minutes, this is a lot of editing. And I think this was like an accurate way to cover the specials. Again, I wish I was a little bit less harsh on it, looking back to the bottom 3 specials, and that would have probably made it flow a little bit better. But I can't be too picky on that. And there's the second video where at the end I mentioned a review of a game I did of Tropical Freeze and Eclipse, the stuff I mentioned earlier. So yeah, I still agree with most of this list, though, honestly. I think, like, all these placements are really good. Not really a whole lot I would change there. So the overall picture, very good. For a video this long, I think it came out pretty well. But hopefully one day there'll be enough special changes for me to redo this again. Not sure if I'll do it as long, but being able to adjust things a little bit would just be nice one day. But we'll see what happens. That depends on a lot. So this was another video I found fun, ranking all 15 Splatoon stage gimmicks. And I looked over and over again at these to make sure I didn't miss any. And I missed the Camp Triggerfish gates going down. And I had some people who were like, yeah, it's because he doesn't play Turf War. And like, okay, yeah, I don't play Turf, but like, I remembered the stupid cars thing on this map, and that's only here on Turf either. I think it's just that the gates are, like, so rarely used in S2, whereas in S2 this gimmick is still prominent. So, like, Camp, it was the only way to go across, but that ink rail they added, and the bridge across being, like, available more often, just, it made it less noticeable, less rememberable. So I did forget that gimmick. Where would it go on the ranking? It goes above the Wahoo timer. It goes above, what is this? Above rotational symmetry, above the glass. I'd put it below the elevators, I guess. It'd go here. There you go. Video fixed. 5 major changes Splatoon 4 could have. These were just like a lot of different small things put together that I wanted to talk about, but couldn't really fit their own video. A lot of these were suggestions from other people, like from Sendu. I'm not sure I could have really talked about stuff more. I don't really care about 5v5 versus 4v4 for Splatoon 4. Like, I really don't care that much. I think you really can do either. I'd probably lean more to 4v4, but I don't really personally care that much. Live service, similar deal. I, like, don't really prefer it. But there's a way they could do it well, and I could see it. But, like, I didn't feel too strongly about those. Stage Builder is something I want, but I don't think will ever happen. Why is one just missing? Oh, these aren't timestamps I put in, are they? Stage Builder. Oh, this is about, like, the weapon replacement thing that Ollie brought up. Again, not too much here. I'd prefer a few concepts are cut down. And then a new mode, yeah. I like the 4v4 thing and the 2v2v2. I agree that'd be better than Tricolor. That's more just a review of the video at this point, I guess. I don't really have too much to say about the major changes thing. I was happy with it. I liked the 10 changes one better. I should have branded this as a new mode, though, I just realized. Why is this branded as major changes? These are all new things. They're not changes. The title has been fixed. So this video is basically just talking about Custom Explo. It was fun. I really enjoyed using its kit. It was cool. There's like a variety of highlights, has some well-string stuff in here as well, but Custom Explo is really fun. It's another weapon I kind of like got back into in the later part of this year, or I think in the middle of this year. and I played a little bit more, had some old highlights like this double Expo one I had with Brian. It was fun. Still painfully average. The State of Splatlings. This is another remake of a video I did toward the end of Splatoon 2, and this one is definitely a lot better. I definitely got to cover it in a way better way, because I think it's like a little... It's hard to portray things in this video because you can't say that they're bad, because they're not. Like, the worst Splatling is still, like, a really solid weapon. Splatlings are, like, that middle-of-the-curve type weapon, where they're almost never really strong or really weak. Like, the only one we've had that's, like, super broken was Old Ballpoint. And, like, think about how insane Ballpoint stats were. Possibly the most overtuned main weapon ever for a Splatling to be seen as that good. So, I think this was a good conversation. And, yeah, I really do believe that, like, kits are one thing, but my god, it's like the Charger matchup has to be changed. I hope something happens in S4. I think Chargers do need tweaks, like I've talked about in my video on them last year. So, I'm hoping we see something for that. But yeah, overall, as far as remakes go, the goal is to just, you know, cover the same topic, but do it in a better way and get things right, and have it be edited better, and definitely fit that this time. These weapons are on the rise, but which is better? This is the video that brought back my comparison series a bit, the Custom Explo versus Custom Wellstring. The title's kind of funny, because both of these weapons shortly after this have tanked off a cliff. The meta changes were not good to them after all the midlines went away, so yeah. Not that they were super great anyway, but we don't even see them as much these days, so yeah. That being said, really good set of weapons to do comparisons from. I like comparisons with weapons that are this similar. Like, they have their distinctions, but when I compare the categories, it's like, yeah, these categories are actually really fitting for them. And I've had future comparison ones that aren't as direct, and I still like what I did with those, but it's not as good as something like this. I think this and the Wiper Tetra one are my favorites so far. Though I do really like Roller and Mint as well. That one was good too. Grand Fest video. Of course I had to do this. I don't really have much thoughts on the video itself, but I did really enjoy this Splatfest, and I think it shows. And I also do really like this little ending bit on going through some of the videos that I've done throughout the different Splatfests. Like, it was a really good way to wrap up all the time that has passed, and yeah, Grand Fest was like... I feel like I can't even do it justice talking about it now. It's just kind of one of those you had to be there type of deals, you know? I'm sure we'll see something similar in S4, but I don't know if this is ever going to be topped. They'd have to go crazy to top it. Also, nice Rainmaker power, Chara. You gotta play the mode like a little bit next time. Did Splatoon 3's updates do enough? I basically jumped to this script the second I heard the content was done. I'm like, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. So, I had fun with this video. This was a really nice one to make. Another one of my favorites for the year, for sure. And, I should have been a little harsher on the lack of third kits, I think. I think that would have been fair. But outside of that, I think it's fine. Like, just a little bit more of a note on, like, yeah, third kits really would have made the game a lot better. But I still agree with my assessment then of, like, even if we don't get third kits, the game is still by far the best. And it's true. I still stand by that. So yeah, another really good wrap-up video. Well-timed when I put it out, and I had a lot of fun with it. 4 potential endings of Splatoon 3. Ollie had the idea for this Ocarina of Time theme and kind of ran with it, and it's kind of funny because it was originally going to be around 3 houses and be the 3 potential endings of Splatoon 3. One of these was added basically last second. The script went through so many revisions. Technically, I could have done 5 because of the tent comp at the end, but I knew that was like that was just this group plays this type of deal. They're just really good. But I think it was really fun to talk about. And yeah, 4 potential endings has aged about how I thought it would. We have the, spam. We have the midline comp, which is stayed about exactly the same. It's like, the midlines and the dive kind of fuse together. That's kind of what we have now. We have like pen dive, and sometimes it's double midlines, sometimes it's like dually, and then it's an aggro short range shooter. And that's kind of what we landed on. So thank God the double bubble stuff was fake. Thank God. I mean, still not even that bad, but like, yeah. So, this was fun to do, and then I got to do a little second channel series going over each of these styles, and that was fun. Gave me an excuse to talk about comp building a little bit, so very cool. I'm sorry to Ollie for all the script adjustments and things we had to do making this. Oh my god, this went through production hell. The reference kits I want for Splatoon 4. This is one of those videos I really just wanted to get out there. It's another Splatoon 4 video, but this was just, I want my opinion out there on what weapons I want to keep reference kits in the next game. And I know there's a lot more hate for reference kits. I think I even mentioned in the video, but again, I think that good reference kits are great. They're just overdone. When they're overdone, people get annoyed with them. But like, do it right, and it's good. It really is good when you manage to bring the right kits back. And the pacing for this video was really good, given the amount of kits I had to talk about here. So I really enjoyed this, and I like some of the visual stuff Zen put in, like this little Splatoon 1 versus 3 screen and such when we talked about what kit it was referencing. Good way to just tie everything together. Technically had a second variety video this year, and if you can see down here, I did also talk about Inkling and Smash like 2 years ago. Got to do it again for this one with Octoling, so I label this as a variety video because it technically is, but like, I know this will do well because I'm talking about Splatoon in another game. It's not really the same. Another video edited by Zen, really well done. And another thing I just had for a while, I've always had an Octoling and Smash moveset comparison for like over half a year now. I've always had that thought in my head about like what I'd want to see from it, and it was just finally the time where I'm like, okay, Splatoon 3 content is dying down, we're in the middle of it, I can finally actually make this video and go over it, and it was great to get all my thoughts from on paper to one cohesive concept all the way here. And yeah, it looked great. I'm really happy with this. The evolution of every weapon class ranked. So I try not to let video performance get to me too much, but this one kind of did, I'll be honest. I really wish this video did better. I love this concept. This was inspired from like I saw a video on like all of the Super Saiyan forms in Dragon Ball. Like, same kind of thing where they just jumped into it with no intro. And I was like, alright, let's do this for progression of weapon classes in Splatoon. And then partway through realized I can also give everything a number score. And so I added the number scores. And yeah, I really like this video. This is one of the favorites I've done. And it really, like, it performed alright, but given the theme, I really thought it would do better. It kind of surprised me, but very good outlook that, like, yeah, they did a great job with weapon class balancing in this game. I like the structure of it. I like the pacing of the video. Don't know how much I like the no intro thing, but we rolled with it this time. It was cool. I hope more people check it out. Another Third Kits collab I got to do with a bunch of content creators. This was fun. Same deal with Tap Out and getting the custom skins and everything. Really great to do. This took a while. This was another video that went through production hell. I think this was originally, like, starting on in, like, maybe July or so. Like, again, took a while. Some of these videos really do end up getting stuck or delayed. And yeah, very fun. I definitely want to work with other Splatoon YouTubers and content creators more often in videos, and maybe we'll see that next year. Just gotta pick the right stuff for it. Splatoon 3, but it's only the worst weapons. Another just random idea where I was like, what if I just play a bunch of low-tier weapons, because I do find a lot of them fun. I do play them in my spare time. And I blame this video for getting me into Big Swig more, because, like, I played it a little bit every now and then, but I really had fun with it in this video, and now I've even used it in a few scrims, like, purely for fun. Like, I got a bit more... This weapon and Dreadringer are, like, a really good weapon pool, or I should say they would be if this did not have this attached to it. So I ended up having a lot of fun with Big Swig. So yeah, that's why I brought this up. Can Dread do well in a big tournament? I actually got to do a tournament run video on the channel. I haven't done one of these in forever. I actually got a tournament run. I was so happy for this. I said it at the end of the video, but like, this really was a big deal for me. I have been like so washed the past half of this year. I was like really unsure about what I could do well and competitive with, and it turns out I just needed a bit of a different, like, weapon set. I was doing good with Rapid Pro as well, but finding a group for that is, like, impossible. I'm happy that this run ended up getting me back in a Dreadringer, and it ended up working out, and now I have a lot more of a vision for what I want to do with competitive, and that's something I didn't have before. I got more of my confidence back, and I hope I can do more with it. I still gotta find a group for this to play more consistently, but I'm a little bit more hopeful that I'm going to figure something out, and getting a run like this, it's not a major win. I hope I can get a major win next year, but it is pretty close, and so I'll take that after basically an entire year of not doing much in the previous, like, year and a half, not living up to my expectations, so I'm happy with it. this turned up into like a, a competitive thing. But yeah, competitive is a big deal for me, and I really do still want to spotlight the scene. It's a big part of why I do scrims in my gameplay. But I haven't really had anything to highlight for myself other than scrims, and that kind of sucks. So I'm glad I can go like, yeah, here's an actual tournament. And I really like the longer video and storyline of it all. So I hope I get another one to tell one day. Either with me on like actually playing or coaching Moonlight in one of their big tournament runs. But we'll see what happens. We're getting near the end here. I have 2 more videos left. The third kits we want to see this weekend. Yeah, what a title. I think this idea came from Lewis, and yeah, being able to do a video where like everyone on the editing team actually gets to fully have control of their segment, what they put in, the footage they get, the edits, the scripts, everything. It was awesome. I want to do this again next year. I don't know what for, but I really like this like super editor, everyone working together on the same video. It was so much fun to do. And it came out really well, too. I think the kits were very interesting, and everyone had their own style with it. It gave the video, like, a lot of creativity to me. So I really enjoyed it. Why the most hyped special vanished? My video on ink vacuum. Another one I wanted to talk about. This is basically just another video in the rebalancing series, but I wanted to talk about it in terms of, like, branding the video on why it dropped off, so it was a bit about that. I wish I talked a little bit more about Vacuum and Rainmaker. I kind of noticed that too late and decided to do a second channel video on it and talk about like my thoughts on it in that mode. But besides that, I like this rework idea I've been sitting on for quite a while, so good to get it done. And finally, the video's not out, so I have Table Turf Noob versus Level 3 Jelly to remind me. But it's the Table Turf video. I have seen the complete version, it's just uploaded tomorrow, so now you know when I'm scripting this. And for the most part, I like this video as well. I've been waiting to talk about Table Turf. I don't know if my ideas at the very end are going to hold up with the whole mobile game thing, but I figured I'd put it out there regardless, and I shouldn't be, like, too afraid of that to just not voice those thoughts, at least get it out there. So that's what I did, and it was definitely good to do. I appreciate talking about Table Turf and being able to get my thoughts on it out there, because I do still care about this mode, even if I barely talk about it, so it was good to be able to revisit and actually get all of that out there. So with that being said, oh my god, we are like an hour into the video to go over all the video stuff I had to talk about. I could have probably trimmed down what videos I discussed with, but oh well, now we're already here. So I have a few other things I want to talk about. Let's jump to that now. Alright, so welcome to the extra part of this now. So there are a few of the small things I want to talk about that are correlated with the channel and I feel are worth covering here that aren't exactly their own videos. So first off, the 2 charity events that I participated in. The first one was spearheaded by me, which is 2-course meal. This was a side order speedrun race and then a $30 team comp gimmick tournament thing that I hosted. And the second one was working with Hollow for Squids for Palestinian Kids number 3, which was hosted just a little bit ago. The first event raised about 8K. This one raised about 10K. And from the posts that we did, combining the events that I've run here, along with all the other SFPKs, the Splatoon community as a whole raised about $32,000 for the Palestinian Children Relief Fund, which is frankly an absurd total. It is insane that we got that far. So again, I want to give a huge thanks to everyone who participated in supporting those events, donating, watching, playing, anyone involved in them at all. It is much appreciated for that. And I had a little bit of a TO run in general, even outside the charity events. I hosted a little bit of other tournaments, including some other restriction formats for a bit. I don't really plan to do any more. I'm a little burned out of it, and there's also just such a crazy amount of tournaments that it became very difficult to really find time for my own events anyway. So I am stepping away from it for a bit. Maybe we'll return to it one day, but I figured that this was a good note to end on, and yeah, it was fun to try out TOing for a little bit. So, XP grind. So I went for 3,000 X power. For the first time, I actually kind of grinded X rank a bit. I honestly have not played as much as I would like. I wish that I played for the majority of a season, and I'm kind of making up for that right now by playing all of the current season. I'm mostly focusing on zones, but I am even playing the other modes a bit because a lot of the zones rotations have been ones I've been skipping. So I guess that's how it goes lately. But I did get a peak X power of 31, I think it was 3105 or 3106, With Custom Expo, I had about 3084 with Dreadringer as well in a different season. This was before I've picked it back up again with tournaments, and that's the weapon I'm going for solo power with right now. I'm currently 2900 in zones, so I'm working toward that, but solo queue was something that I never really took full advantage of in my comp career until the very last part of 2023, and while I really haven't done as much as I'd wanted to in terms of going for a high power, I'm hoping I can do more next year. Regardless, it was still a very big learning experience. It's cool to get a like X power of that level that allowed me to play in Zenkai, the JP Draft Cup tournament. That was really fun to participate in. So, all in all, I had a really good time, and I can understate how valuable solo is. So that was good for me as a player to grow a bit there. And speaking of Zenkai, which was participated in after, I had a lot of fun with this, and I'll talk a little very briefly about my competitive experience this year. So, at the end of last year, I kind of stepped down a bit. Last Resort disbanded, and I went to coaching Moonlight, which I've done for the entirety of this year. I think the team's made a lot of progress and has been happy with that, but obviously that's been different from grinding the game individually. I mentioned a little bit before that I kind of, like, I played for a little bit after LR disbanded, like, pretty seriously, and then I kind of just mostly did scrims. I didn't enter tournaments as much or didn't care about it as much. I took a little bit of a, I don't know, it's not really a break. I don't have a good term for it, but I did, like, take a bit from entering tournaments for a little, mostly because I didn't really have a set group or anything to do them with, and pretty much any major tournament was something Moonlight was doing, and so, kind of was focused on that for the time being. And because of that, I definitely dropped off a lot. I also just, my current weapon pool wasn't really working out. About the end of last year, I was like pretty set that blasters were the way to go for me, and I literally got Dream CRB kit in the game, so, it is what I wanted most for fun, obviously, so there is that, but still, it definitely became clear that blasters weren't something that was going particularly well with me in comp. I was just a bit stuck, and for a while I thought it was just me as a player, and I definitely had a lot I needed to work on, but having that one tournament run with Dread and being able to try again with a bit more of a supportive role in mind has definitely made it a lot better. I think that going into next year, I want to try to do more tournaments again, try to play with the group more consistently, and really focus on just playing the stuff I'm best at, not just gravitating to weapons I like the most. I think that playing this support role out is the best thing I can do, and I'm still just very grateful that In the Zone run got to happen, so special shoutouts to those guys. It was really fun to be able to play with them, and yeah, I'm glad that I'm back in a competitive spot where I'm more comfortable playing again, because I definitely had a bit where I was like, I wasn't sure if I was really doing good enough to want to continue. So I'm glad that I was able to find my footing again, even if it took a while. So yeah, that's all I got to say on that. Uh, I've been trying to do a few different series on the second channel that have been going over guide stuff, and unfortunately I didn't really make as much progress on the series as I wanted. I got burned out pretty fast. I'm hoping I can return to it, but I do want to try and do more second channel stuff like this that's kind of more guide focused content. I really like this map review stuff, and I want to get back to the scene more with stuff like this, and I'm hoping I can do that. Final thing I want to say before probably the most serious thing to talk about here, which is new outro. It's sick. It's just sick. It's amazing. Yeah. I don't have much to say. Alright, so with that being said, I wanted to do one more thing, which is talk a little bit about content in 2025. So, between how long I've been doing content on Splatoon 3, I kind of am running very low on videos that I feel very passionate to work on. I don't want to do topics that aren't interesting or things that I think are fitting, and there is a lot of vetting process that goes into the ideas I come up with. I'd say, like, out of every 3 ideas, maybe one of them becomes a video, if I'm being generous. And so going into 2025, it's at a point where Splatoon 3 has been out for almost 2.5 years now. Content's done, and, like, competitive content has been done for about 2 years. So we're at a point where I'm definitely running low on stuff to make. The meta history is really the last big series I have planned for the time being. And I've talked a little bit before about potential burnout, and then there's other factors consider, like financial stuff, obviously, since, I pay people to edit videos, and I'm obviously going to make less and less money as time goes on there. And just in general, between all of these different factors coming together, as well as the fact that I've kind of continued doing these videos with like very little of an actual break for years now, to the point where I think next year is probably going to be the best opportunity to take some kind of large break from content. I don't know when it's going to be exactly. The plan right now in my head, which could change, is to keep going as normal until production is ready to start on the meta history videos and get all of those out. And then probably when that series wraps up, take a bit of a break, which that could be anywhere from March to late April to May. No idea for sure on the timetable because that depends on the people working on those videos, and I'm not going to rush anything. So I'd say in all likelihood, I will probably take a break a bit after then for could be anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. I'm not entirely sure, but I do think it's probably a good time to do one now that content has slowed down and it just kind of had to happen eventually. So I am thinking about that. Regardless, it's going to be a tough time for all content creators, not just me. Doing competitive Splatoon content or any kind of Splatoon content when there's not a lot of updates is tough. It's a lot harder to find topics to talk about. The algorithm doesn't really help you as much. And it's tough. It's tricky. And in Splatoon 2, I definitely went through that era, but the difference is I obviously hadn't done content throughout the entirety of Splatoon 2, so I had all these things to talk about. But it's different this time. I have done content talking about this game for almost 2.5 years now. I've already talked about so much. So it's going to be a challenge for sure, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle it. That's something that remains to be seen, but I am going to do my best. This channel was started out of an investment to help with competitive Splatoon content, and I am very happy it's gone as far as it has. I really have never expected it, and I hope that even in this era, even with a break like this, that I'll be able to continue to help support the scene of this game. And so I just want to wrap this up by saying thank you to all of you guys. This year has really been one of a lot of looking back at the history with this and, you know, really just reflecting on the channel and where I am and all of that. And I can be nothing but grateful to the scene for the amount of support I have and being able to do these kind of videos. I really never anticipated that nerdy Splatoon rambles of the competitive scene would be something to ever garner this much attention. And I really can't understate how insane it is that we have made it this far. So thank you guys for all the support on the channel. I'm sorry this video ended up so long. I just really had a lot more to say this time around. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching once again. And I hope 2025 is a good year. We'll see what happens.